Now this is a difference of squares, but it doesn't really matter because that's not what we're looking for this time, so we don't have to factor anything. All we have to do is worry about the fact that to find the y-intercept, you make x equals 0. Okay, so if you make x equals 0, means f of 0 is equal to 25 times 0 squared minus 49. So f of 0 equals negative 49, which means your y-intercept is 0, negative 49. Which is a whole lot easier. And let's say since x is equal to 0. All right, any questions on that one? All right. Okay, so now we're going to apply a few of these to story problems. Everybody's favorite. Oh, one's still writing. All right. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's say you have a stained glass window. Is shaped. Uh-oh. And clean that up some. Like a right triangle. Okay. So we know the hypotenuse is 15 feet. The length of one leg is 3 feet more than the other. Let's say we want to find the length of the sides. So for this one, normally what I like to do is, whenever I have story problems, draw a picture or a diagram or something to help me visualize it. So since we know it's the shape of a right triangle, we just draw a right triangle. Let's see if I can do that without messing it up. Close enough. Okay. So for a right triangle, your hypotenuse is always across from your right angle. And you have your leg over here and your leg over here. Okay. So we know the hypotenuse is 15 feet. So we know that's 15. And we know one leg is 3 feet longer than the other. So since we don't know the length of either of them, we'll let this one be the first leg. And this leg is just the same length plus 3. Okay. So we know whenever we have a right triangle, we can always use the Pythagorean theorem. Which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that means we have x squared plus x plus 3 squared equals 15 squared. Okay, so if we not factor out, but expand this one, that gives us x squared plus x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 225. And a little side note for that one. X plus 3 squared equals x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is x squared plus 6x plus 9. All right. So actually we can go ahead and combine those two. So you have 2x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 225. But we know we can't solve it until we make it equal to 0. So you want to make it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 225. Okay, so that gives us 2x squared plus 6x minus 225 from both sides. That will be minus 216 equals 0. Now with this one we're in luck because we can actually factor out a 2 from each term. So we don't have to worry about 2 times 216 and all that other stuff. So we can make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so you have 2 times x squared plus 3x minus 108 equals 0. And since we just factored out a 2 and not a 2x, we can just divide and get rid of the 2. Okay, I might as well put it right underneath it. So those two cancel each other out. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 108. 0 divided by anything is just going to be 0. Okay. So now we don't have anything in front of the x squared. So we don't have to do the a times c method. We just have to find two numbers that multiply to equal your c, which is negative 108. And those same two numbers add to equal your b, which is 3. Okay. So we know 9 and 12 is 108. So we just have to kind of manipulate that a little bit to make sure we have the right combination of positive and negative. Okay. Since we're looking for negative 108 and positive 3, figure the 12 would be bigger. So 12 times negative 9 is negative 108. And 12 plus negative 9 is positive 3. Okay, so we can now rewrite that as, move that up a little bit, as x plus 12 times x minus 9 equals 0. Okay, so now that we have it all factored out, we just go ahead and set each of them equal to 0. So x plus 12 equals 0, or x minus 9 equals 0, And I'll just move that right up here just because. So if we subtract 12 from both sides, x is equal to negative 12. Or, if we add 9 to both sides, x is equal to 9. Okay. So we're like 95%, well, probably closer to 98% done. Because now we know what side x length is. We just have to find the length of x plus 3. Also, you can't have a length that's negative. So this, you can't even use. So can't use because a length can't be negative. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. But we can use this one. So we have our x is equal to 9. So that means our x, move that over a little bit, our x plus 3 is equal to 9 plus 3, which is 12. Okay, so our triangle actually ends up looking like, 9, 12, 15. Okay, so those are your length of your sides. Now, if you wanted to, strictly optional, you could apply the Pythagorean theorem to these and see if they match up to make sure your answer is right. Completely optional. So let's see, 9 squared and 12 squared equals 15 squared. So that would be 81 plus 144 equals 225, which actually matches up. So we know it's true. All right. So any questions on that one? All right. I'll leave that up for a few more seconds. Looks like everyone's done. Okay, so quick reminder. Let's say if you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which are just consecutive integers. It could start at -3, -2, -1. It could be negative, positive. It doesn't matter. We just know they're consecutive. And let's say it keeps on going. We know we have to start somewhere. So we can let any value be an x. That could be x, 12 could be x, -500 could be x, any number at all could be x. But you have to start somewhere. So we know if we're going to the next number, we're just going to add 1. So if we're going from 9 to 1, we're just going from 9 to 9 plus 1. Then if we're going to 10 to 11, we're just going to 10 to 10 plus 1. So we know that, let's say, 2 consecutive integers, we can make that just x and x plus 1. Clean up that W a little bit. All right, so let's say if we have, instead of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, let's say if we have, I'll start with the negative numbers just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Let's say -36, negative 34, negative 32, negative 30, negative 28, and it keeps on going and going and going forever and ever and ever. Okay, now we just have consecutive even integers, just one even number after another. Okay, just like before, you have to start somewhere. It can be negative, positive, it can be really small, it can be really big, but you start somewhere. So let's start here at some x value. So here, to get to the next number, we had to go up 1. But for this one, to get to the next number, we have to go up 2. So if we start at negative 36, to get to negative 34, we have to go up 2. If we start at negative 34, to get to the next number, we have to go up 2. So if you have 2 consecutive even integers, it would just be x and x plus 2. So let's say instead of negative 36, 34, negative 34, negative 32, if we have, let's say 99, 101, 103, 105, 107, and so forth and so on and so on. Okay, so these are just one odd number after another, just odd number, odd number, odd number, which really are just our consecutive odd integers. Just like before, you have to start somewhere. So let's start and make this one our x value. So in order to get to the next even number, just like with the odd ones, you have to add 2. So to get from 103 to 105, you have to add 2. To get from 105 to 107, you have to add 2. And so forth and so on and so on. So if you have 2 consecutive odd integers, it will be the exact same as the even, where you have some odd value x, and you'd have to go up 2. Yep, bring that down a bit. All right, any questions on that one? Okay. Leave that up. All right, so let's say, for example, say we want to find the product of 2 consecutive even integers is 224. And they want you to find the integers. Okay. So a few things we can kind of figure out by what was given to us so far. We know product, so that means we're going to multiply it. Let's say 2 consecutive even integers. That's just the term x and x plus 2. So since we're looking for the product, that means we're going to multiply those two, and it's going to equal 224. So you have x times x plus 2 equals 224. Okay, so now we get rid of our parentheses by just distributing the x. So that would give us x squared plus 2x equals 224. Okay. So if we subtract 224 from both sides, that cancels out to be 0. Oh, move that down a little bit. That would give us x squared plus 2x minus 224 equals 0. Okay. So you don't have anything in front of the x squared, which is good because you don't have to use the a times c method. Bad part is you have to find two numbers that multiply to equal negative 224. And those same two numbers have to add to equal 2. And through a little bit of trial and error, you find out that 16 times 14 is 224. Okay? So we know since this is positive, the 16 is going to be positive when you add them together. So you have 16 times negative 14 and 16 plus negative 14. Okay, so that means this can be replaced with x plus 16, x minus 14. Equals 0. Okay, so now we just set both of those equal to 0. Meaning x equals, x plus 16 equals 0. Just jumping ahead. Or x minus 14 can equal to 0. Oops. Okay. So if we subtract 16 from both sides, x equals negative 16. Or add 14 to both sides, x equals 14. Okay. So we have our x values. The only thing missing is now we need our x plus 2 values. Okay. So x plus 2 will equal negative 16 plus 2, which is negative 14. And move that over here. And for this one, x plus 2 would equal 14 plus 2, which is 16. Okay, so you actually have two sets of solutions. You have negative 16 times negative 14 equals 224. And you have positive 16 times positive 14 equals 224. All right. Any questions on that one? All right. Leave that up for a few seconds. We'll do one more example. Still writing. Oh, I'll leave that. right. And it's going to cut off at 30, so I'll go ahead and